Hello, everybody. This is Brightest podcast. I'm Gabe Clem, and today we have something very special planned. As you guys know, last week was our Star Wars week, which I really hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. I felt like we got some great messages. The two-part podcast was really fun to do. We definitely have to try to do something like that again. And yesterday was Mother's Day. I hope you guys had a great Mother's Day. Thank you, moms everywhere. I really appreciate everything you do. And I hope you guys are just having a good week so far. Yeah. I know some people, it's crazy. I've had a pretty crazy day. Kind of tired, and it's just Monday. But today, we have something very cool planned. We are going to be talking about the MCU's Moon Knight. We just got the finale last Wednesday. And this show, guys, where do I begin? It's a very thought process driven show. You have to think about a lot. And I really like these shows because I have to figure out what's actually happening. And to be honest, up until those last two episodes, I had no idea what was happening. But great show, great cast. Oscar Isaac, guys, come on. He's just a great actor. Love him in Star Wars. He's really great as Poe Dameron, and this show really shows his prowess as an actor. If you haven't seen any of the Moon Knight yet, spoilers ahead. We will be talking about the show in entirety. Usually, I'm going to try to just do the first episode of a new show when it comes out. But today, I really had to do the whole show because we didn't really have much to go off of in that first episode. So it really depends on the show if I will be doing the first episode and then probably doing the rest later on, or if I do the show in entirety. So let's just jump right into it. But before that, of course, we have to do our who would win question. And speaking of Moon Knight, we don't really see him a lot nowadays. He's really a forgotten character, and that's why I was so pumped for this show, because he really is this really cool character, and he deserves to be shown more than he is. But usually when he's shown, he's in cameos with Spider-Man. So that got me thinking. The two of those were to fight. Who would win? So Facebook, blogger, wherever you find us, who would win in a fight? Spider-Man or Moon Knight? Let's get right into this topic, guys. So, episode 1, the goldfish problem. We see Stephen Grant, a average guy with his goldfish, works at a museum, and he just has a regular life, except he has a problem with blackouts. He'll just black out randomly and then wake up not knowing where he is, not knowing what happened. So that kind of makes him do some dramatic things in his apartment, which we see at the beginning, chaining himself to his bed, pouring sand everywhere, which I guess is a remedy or something. I'm not really sure. Or at least the way I looked at it was like he sees the footprints, so he knows he went somewhere. I don't know. Like, I just thought it was funny. But he has these blackouts, and we later find out it's because he has this split personality. He starts having these memories that aren't his own, and it really starts bothering him. But he works at this museum, and one day he comes against Arthur Harrow, who has the mission to make life as close to heaven as he can by going forward with the works of the Egyptian deity Ammit. Now, before I continue, I would like to do a little sidebar about what this show represents. Now, this show has a lot of Egyptian mythology in it, which was really cool to me because I didn't really go deep into it, but I did study some Egyptian mythology, deities, stuff like that. So it was kind of cool to see some familiar names. Of course, Amit is the deity who believes of judging people before they can commit any evil or good. She'll look at you and say, okay, you're going to commit this evil in like 20 years. I'm just going to take care of you now before you even have that choice to do it. And Hera wants to go forward with these views and tip the scales, as he would say, of people's good and evil. He'll judge you not on the actions that you've committed, but you will commit. And if your heart is good or evil based on these scales. Hera recognizes Stephen, but Stephen doesn't recognize Hera. And Hera accuses Stephen of having a scarab. Stephen, of course, does not know what is going on and eventually makes a run for it. Now, this is where things get a little weird because we start seeing Stephen black out. Of course, his first blackout was bringing him to this random village where Hera was. But he blacks out and pretty much he's away from everything, with the trail of bodies that he did not leave behind, even though everything points to him doing it. He gets back home and he realizes everything is wrong. Things have changed that shouldn't have been changed. More time has passed by than he remembers, and even his goldfish, it's not his goldfish. It's not the one that he had. So he starts figuring everything out, and he finds an ID of a Mark Spector. This, of course, confuses him because he does not know Mark Spector, and he gets this phone where he found the ID and calls a number on it, which goes to a Layla. Now, when Stephen begins talking, Layla, of course, recognizes Stephen's voice to be Mark Spector's. It turns out that Mark Spector is actually who Stephen turns into when he blacks out. First time watching this, I had no idea what was going on. I was like, it's cool, but I'm super lost. And it's later explained that Mark Spector is Stephen, and Stephen is Mark Spector. It's just who has their hand on the wheel. It's a split personality. And Mark Spector is a mercenary, which caught Stephen by a little bit of surprise because he's just a nice guy. But he's not only a mercenary, he is a avatar for the deity Khonshu. This avatar makes him into the Moon Knight, which, of course, Stephen wants nothing to do with Moon Knight when Mark has a job to fulfill. Of course, Hera is following the ways of Amit, and he wants to release the deity, which would cause destruction to the world, because she's going to start judging all these people and killing all these people who have done nothing wrong. All these innocent lives are going to be lost because of what they might do in the future. And of course, there's a battle that breaks out in the mind of Stephen and Mark because they have to figure out who's going to have their hands on the wheel, because Stephen believes that this is his body and that Mark's the split personality, when it's vice versa for Mark. And it really changes the dynamic of where the story is going, because one wants to stay still, the other wants to go and fight and stop the release of Amit. Stephen and Mark encounter the Layla that was on the cell phone, and it turns out that Layla is Mark's wife, which, of course, Mark disappeared whenever Stephen took control. So Layla thinks that she was just left behind because she has no idea what happened. She does know about Mark and Moon Knight, but she had no idea that Stephen existed. They all go and set out to Cairo to stop Harrow from reaching Amit's tomb to release her. Now, during all of this, we see a kind of business, professional, I should say, relationship between Mark and Steven. Like, okay, your skills are useful here, so I'm just going to let you take control for just a little bit, but I better have control back when you're finished. And it's not really the best way of doing things, but is how things are done until they reach Amit and they get to it before Harrow does. But of course, as soon as they get to it, there's Harrow, and Harrow actually ends up killing Mark and Steven. This sends them to Duat, which is the Egyptian underworld. It's the path to get to the Field of Reeds, which kind of is Egyptian heaven, is their paradise. But to do this, they have to have a well-balanced heart. In doing so, this means Mark and Steven have to go back and relive their memories. This is the first look we have at Mark's, who Mark and Steven are. And it shows that this whole time we've been thinking that Mark and Steven kind of both control the real, and whenever it's Mark who is the quote-unquote original, and Steven was created due to Mark's terrible past, which was when Mark was a kid, him and his brother went to play together, and an accident happened, his brother died. He blamed himself, and not only that, but his mother blamed him. She was driven mad by the incident and began hating Mark because of this. So in his rough times, he created Steven. And Steven, seeing this, it really helps him understand Mark and help him through his issues, I guess you could say. And we really start seeing a bond between the two characters. And it sends them back to our world, where they come back and they fight Harrow after he has released Amit. In a really cool sequence. Like, this show has some great CGI, has some great choreography. And in the end of it all, we find out that they're not the only two personas in Mark Spector. There's also John Lockley, who has been hinted at throughout the series and finally shown. Because, we knew that there was a third one, because there were times that Mark and Steven both blacked out, and then something would happen. And they were like, did you do that? And they were like, no, did you do that? And it was kind of a hint at what was to come. But this was a great show. I really enjoyed it. And I highly suggest, if you haven't watched it, it does get confusing. And it is one of those shows that you have to think a lot. But it's really cool to see this character that we don't really get enough of. Because he really is one. After this, and after finding his original story in the comics and everything, it made me really like this character. And there's actually a ton to learn from this show. One of the biggest ones is finding your identity, knowing who you are. You can't let other people control what you see yourself as. But another one is there's always a chance to do good. That is where Amit went wrong. Something that people don't understand about Christianity is God is a just God. He's fair. He knows that we mess up, and He forgives us for it. But not only that, He gives us a choice. We have free will to do whatever we want, and it pleases God even more whenever we decide to do the right thing and believe in Him, believe in Jesus, and do what we're supposed to do as Christians. Yes, we have the choice to do evil, but we also have the choice to do good, and we can be forgiven by whichever action we do. Of course, there's going to be consequences. We talked about this before, but we always have to make sure we're making the right choices, which is a blessing not to be judged beforehand. this is just overall a great show. And there's great messages to come out of it. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's podcast. Watch our blogger, watch our Facebook, follow us wherever we are, and I hope you guys have a great week. God bless.